So I'm just gonna grab a drink here.
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Saturday. We are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter/X, Facebook, and Twitch. This is an episode of Pop Goes the Throwdown, where we celebrate pop culture in all its forms. I'm your host, Matt, and today is going to be fun. We're joined by a guy who, along with his wife Allison, has truly taken social media by storm. With his blend of music, comedy, honesty, and relatability, his unique cover songs, singing in an Asian accent that he doesn't actually possess, a guy who I am pleased to call a friend and a brother in Christ, Mr. Jason himself, Jason Drew. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Man, if I were doing much better, there'd probably be 3 or 4 of me.
I like that. Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's awesome.
Absolutely, man. And let me direct your attention to the ticker that's running on the bottom of the screen. That contains all, or at least most, of Jason's social media accounts, along with mine. So, do us a favor. If you aren't a follower or subscriber, please take the time and go to each of our platforms and do so. It definitely helps all of us. And any questions or comments, just throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started with some of the history of all of this. And so first off, how long have you been a musician?
Well, so my mother has always been a big music buff, and she was a music teacher back in Taiwan. I've always kind of had a little bit of an interest. I was just kind of hopped on the piano when I was about 2 or 3 years old. I would just kind of start playing little things, and then I would hear something on TV, or when my brother and I would play Nintendo, and I would try to play like theme songs, like one note at a time. And the thing that really got my mom interested into getting me into piano was my brother had a recital who also took piano, and he had a friend. His name was Kyle Miller, and he had a song that was very catchy, and I enjoyed it. So later that day, I went home and I started to figure it out. My mom walks in the room, and I was just like, "Hey, Mom, it's the Kyle Miller song." And it was like from that moment, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get him into piano lessons." And with it, when your parent makes you do something, it's not often that you actually enjoy it.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest, I hated piano. I took it for about 8 or 9 years and just hated going. It just was one of those things, and looking back on it, it's something I'm grateful for, because it turned into everything that's happening now. When I took band in middle school, high school, on the praise and worship team at church now. I've been doing that for about 13, 14 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's just what we're doing now. Everything evolved from that. So a lot of that big thing was from my mom's musical influence.
Gotcha. Well, as far as the guitar goes, are you pretty much self-taught with that, or did you ever take guitar lessons or any of that?
So believe it or not, I wasn't always an angel. My brother was actually somebody I looked up to as a musician. He was an all-state choir, all-state musician in high school. I felt like for me, I was always in the shadow of him. So like anytime that he like went out with his friends, I would sneak on his guitars and just kind of mess around on it. And one day he found out that I was playing, and I thought he was gonna be really mad at me. But he was like, "No, that's actually really cool. I'll teach you like a few little power chords and anything like that." But he's like, "But don't touch my stuff." unless you ask. But then he was never home for me to ask, so I just snuck on, and it became like a self-taught thing. So when I first joined the church that my wife goes to, it's a family-run church of her grandfather.
Hmm.
Um, I really wasn't playing. I really didn't start singing until I attended church. But I just took time to practice, figure things out, and it just kind of evolved from there. And a lot of it is just that knowledge from the early piano days that my mom made me do. So it did come back full circle for that.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that you were in band in high school. What instrument or instruments did you play? My wife was actually a tenor sax player.
Okay. Well, I was close. I was an alto sax player.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yep. So I started that in fifth grade, and then I just stuck with it until I graduated. And once in a while, I'll pop it out. But I'm still waiting to. I'm trying to figure out songs I can do with that too. So
Oh, cool, cool. So, I mean, presently, aside from guitar, and you were saying a little bit of alto sax, do you play any other instruments currently?
so I had been playing drums. I taught myself drums in high school. And then me and my friends had a band. I actually started playing drums at our church choir for a while when they had it. And then recently, like the original drummer of the praise band, he technically just retired about a couple years ago. So I've been playing full time, and then I was giving lessons to a relative, a distant cousin. I think he's 15, and he does a really good job. And he plays almost every Sunday, so I could get back on guitar. But yeah, drums if I need to. I started playing bass. It's funny because when the bass player uh, left the church, then I hopped on there. So just to try to fill um, a spot, and then I just kind of mix around, go where I'm needed. But I like to fiddle around with new instruments too.
Got you. Got you. Well, as we've mentioned, you are married to the amazing Allison, and like I was saying to you before we went on the air, she is such a big part of what you're doing. If nothing else, playing the straight man, being the air quotes long suffering wife as
Yeah,
you do what you do. But
yeah.
based on your socials, it appears that you guys have known each other for a while. Um, how
Mhm.
did you guys meet? Tell us the Jason and Allison story.
So I love telling this story because a lot of people have said this is like movies type uh, relationships here. So when my parents moved from Taiwan to here in Iowa, um, they had a Chinese restaurant here in town called the Sea Dragon. It was a very big deal. People still talk about it. So actually, her mother, when worked for my parents,
Hmm.
when she was 16, 17 years old, and was 17 when Allison was born. I was 4 years old, and I remember her name's Melanie. She was pregnant with her and had a name picked out, and I remember saying hi to Allison in the belly. So I literally have known her, her
Since
entire
before
life.
she was born, yeah.
Yeah, really, yeah. But our family has had tremendous history. Their family, our family are good friends, they're customers, and that's really the basis of a lot of the friendships we still have is from the restaurant. But yeah, we used to play together when we were little kids, when our mom worked, or when they came to visit the restaurant. Her and I would hang out, and then and it just kind of fast forwarding. So 1998, that restaurant closed, and then uh, it was about a 10-year span where I didn't see her.
Hmm.
And life happens, paths go a different direction. But my mother was a manager of a Chinese food outlet in a grocery store called Hy-Vee here in the Midwest, pretty popular. And they actually hired a girl who was adopted by Allison's grandparents who started working there. And then we started to kind of connect the dots a little bit. She started talking about her relatives, and Allison. I was like, Allison, you know. So then she invited her family to come eat there, and then it was just like a big reunion, and I was just like, wow, it's kind of cool. And then we just kind of got reconnected, and that's just kind of how it took off. We just got reconnected, got to know each other. Um, from being friends to dating to everything was just very seamless. I mean, it just seemed really natural. So a lot of it was the restaurant, our parents, just being really good friends, and so and funny. The thing is that there's a picture on social media where it's a picture of me and Allison at her mom's wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the ring bearer. She was the honorary flower girl, and then there's a picture of us at our wedding, like right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of one of those like like little chick flick romance type things that you see. That's what people described it as.
Well, the way that all fell together, Jason, it was obviously God ordained. I mean,
Yes.
and being able to see all of that and see His hand in it is just the coolest thing in the
Mhm.
world. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
so I mean, obviously, based on what you're saying about being a worship leader and such, you're a man of faith. Tell us a bit about your faith journey. Were you raised in a Christian home? All of that. Tell us a bit about your journey as a believer.
So, as a kid, there was a church kind of by where we lived, and his name was Pastor Fry, and was so just he was a customer of the Sea Dragon too, and he so it actually started with my brother. My brother would go to church on Sundays. He would ride his bike to church, and I know I went with a couple times. We never really were strong, like I guess I don't want to say my family didn't believe in it, but it wasn't a part of, us growing up.
Right.
I had a grandmother who was all about Jesus, and she tried to talk to me about Jesus, and the rest of the family was just like, oh, whatever. So it wasn't really strong until, uh, I've had some struggles of my own as a teenager. I went through my parents divorcing. I got into some things that I shouldn't have, and it was a really long haul. And looking back on it, I just kind of came to the conclusion, like we mentioned earlier, I that had to be God that put His hand over me. Like I don't know how else to explain it. In a very dark time where I wanted to end it all. I was one of those kids that struggled and didn't know how to deal with it.
Right.
I was 19, and it's just it's like God had His hand on my shoulder saying, "Hey, I got you. It's going to be okay. You still have a lot of time to do good things and to figure out where your life is going to go. Like I'm not done with you yet." So I don't want to say it was like a full-on crystallized moment, because when I look back on it, it was a series of little gems that happened, and eventually it just became so much that you look at it as more of a blessing in disguise, and then it's just you start living a life of gratefulness and just being appreciative of what's there despite of what's going on. So, and I think if I'm being honest, once me and Allison kind of got reconnected, and I think that's really what saved me, because that was just like the full on proof that, God had His hand on me the whole time and the timing was right.
Absolutely. So, how did you come to the idea of doing the Asian accented cover tunes thing? By the way, I absolutely love the "What Does the Fox Say?" That just absolutely, I was on the floor with that one. I mean,
Yeah.
that was great. So,
That was one on a left field, because I usually do like popular songs from early 2000s, 90s. And I was like, my daughter started singing it one day, and she must have heard it in school or something like
yeah,
that. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that song.
yeah,
That was like 10 years ago,
yeah.
and maybe more. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna bust this one out. And the funny thing is, like, I knew what I wanted to do, like the ching chings and the ni
Yeah.
haos, but then I forgot that they did it 4 times.
Yeah.
So, like, the Ho Chi Minh was, like, the only thing I could think of at the time, and the Hi-Ya was the kind of easy one, so I was like, "I'm just gonna throw them in, and it's just what it's gonna be, and if I needed to just stop, whatever." But, yeah, it was a lot of these are just kinda totally off the wall.
Right.
I don't really get much time to practice because then my wife knows what's going on because she's in the house too.
Right.
So,
Right.
but really, it's something I've been doing for a long time because I explained this to somebody yesterday. Um, I had a phone call with another person who was asking that, and I had been doing this for so long, even when we were kids, like me and some of my other Asian friends,
Mhm.
we would do the accent just to we just had fun with it, because I had friends that were like me; they didn't have an accent at all.
Yeah.
Um, but then I was like, and I've always picked on Allison. Just that's just how we
Yeah.
are. Um, and she never. So it's like obviously, like I am of Asian descent. It was never a factor when she was with me. Like she never introduced me as, oh, my Asian boyfriend or my Taiwanese husband or whatever. It was just Jason.
Right.
So why she reacts the way she does is it throws her off for one thing. Second, I'm being ridiculous. But then it's one of those like, why is he doing that? And then she's like, oh yeah. It's like she forgets that I am Oriental. So it's it's a big factor in like why she acts the way she does. So it's just kind of one of those like I'm just doing it intentionally just to get a rise out of her. I try to make her laugh. Um, and I have been doing it for a long time, but just started doing it like end of June, early July this past year, and it just took off. I guess people thought it was funny.
Well, when you started posting these on social media, did you think at all that it would catch on the way that it has?
No, not at all, because and I it was everything has been very unintentional because I mainly just use Facebook. That's where all of our friends are.
Mhm.
So I've had TikTok for a while, and I started with doing like dad jokes to Allison in public to try to
Yeah.
embarrass her. Like, well, the idea was always there to just kind of you know get a rise out of her. That's just what I do. Um, but I was never really concerned about followers. I only use TikTok to edit the videos because it's fun or it's easy
Mhm.
and it's just fun to do. And then I would post them on Facebook because they saved automatically to my phone,
Right.
and that's where our friends were. They know who we are. They're like, "Oh, Allison, oh, Jason, I remember you do this at work," or to people. And I've always just been kind of a jokester. But I think it was the end of June. There was Wonderwall,
Mhm.
or as many people would say, "Oh, it's a Wonderwall."
Yeah.
Wonderwall. 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 It was just I put it in the kitchen. I just did it to her, and next morning it had like 500,000 views.
Wow.
And I looked at it. I was like, that can't be right. Because and sometimes you just get a video, or it just blows up, and then everything goes away. And I thought it was one of those cases.
Yeah.
Later that week, I posted "Ever Wrong" by Foo
Yeah.
Fighter. Foo Fighter.
Foo Fighter.
And same thing. And it's just like, okay, I'm thinking it's a fluke, you know. But then I started getting these followers, and for like the first 2 months, me and Allison were like, this is weird. Like, I don't understand, like what this is something that I do all the time. But then yeah, so TikTok was mainly where it was, and then people were like, "If are you on Instagram? Are you on YouTube?" And then I started posting on there, and then Instagram blew up too. So I'm like, oh, this is a. I started posting there in August,
Mhm.
and the pace of that growing has been, and I think that's where you found me
Yeah.
too. So, and then they found me on Facebook like October, December, or September, October, and they realized that's who I was. So it just wasn't intended to be a big thing. People kind of got on board, and now it's like let's give the people what they want. And But then it's like I started taking the opportunity, seeing the amount of followers I have,
Hmm.
and kind of sharing our life a little bit
Yeah.
more. You know, our beliefs, our faith, our autism journey with both of our kids being on the autism spectrum, and getting them to know that we are human beings. We work regular jobs, and we're having fun, and we struggle too. We're just like everybody else, and it was never about the fame, anything like that. It just happened, and it doesn't change who we are.
Right.
And
Right.
you know,
Well, I've also seen on socials that from some corners you've been catching some flack for the Asian, for the Asian stereotypes and such. But I mean, ultimately, it's funny. Like I said
yeah,
before we went on the air, my son is Chinese, and while he is, extremely proud to be Asian, like I said, he is also the first person to tell a funny Asian joke, and he finds your stuff hilarious. So, I mean, what do you say to the critics? I mean, I mean, to me, these are people with nothing better to do than find something to gripe about. But I mean, what's your take on that?
and I think I try to step back. I've always been a person to try to step back and view it from their point of view, because maybe they've had a bad experience themselves, or they're just and I know some people just try to insert themselves, and they're like, oh, that's offensive to these people. But honestly, of all the people that have sent me a message or commented, I've noticed none of them have been of Oriental descent.
Hmm.
In fact, I've had people in public who stop me, who are Asian, and they say, man, your stuff is so funny. Like, that's exactly like, we take things so lighthearted, and we get the jokes, and it's just like, instead of getting so mad about it, like, why don't we just embrace it and just be like, yeah, shrug it off? You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
we've heard all the jokes and stuff like that, and I try to approach it with grace, because I understand not everybody is going to think what we do is funny,
Right. Of course.
and it's subjective, and I understand that. I just kindly say, you don't have to watch them. You can scroll on, and it's sometimes I'll kind of be a little petty and be like, oh, do your thumbs work, but it's not really who I am. So a lot of times I just shrug it off,
Yeah.
ignore it.
Take the high
But
road.
there are people yeah, there are some people who just are genuinely curious, like, hey, they are being constructive about it. I said, it
Right.
doesn't bother me, but do you think it but might bother? I said, and it might. I probably have I think I have a couple family members that are like, I don't know. I don't think I don't like it, and that's fine, and it's not my job to tell them what they think should be funny, or what, because there are a lot of TV shows out there like Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park, who are just clearly like another level that
Yeah.
people enjoy or don't like. And South Park's been one of the longest running shows for a long time
Oh yeah.
because of that. So, and it's just one of those things where you don't have to watch it, and that's okay. If people find joy in what I do, those messages that say, hey, I've had a sick family member and they haven't laughed in so long until they watch your videos, like, those are the kind of things that win over more than just, I find this offensive. What do you think? I think we're reaching more people in a positive way than negative.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like that story of the teacher writing 10 math problems on the board, 9 of them correct, but there's the one that's wrong, and the kids focus on the one wrong one. It's like, what are we really doing?
Exactly.
Should we focus on all the ones that are great and build on, or are we just going to focus on that one thing? And that's the way I'm kind of looking at it.
Right. Right. And you were mentioning that most of the people that are being critical are not actually of Asian heritage themselves. So
Right.
then you're
Yeah.
kind of dealing with the social justice warriors, and and it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But So, you had also mentioned recently that you expect that over time the Asian accented cover tunes thing is eventually going to somewhat taper off. Without giving away too much, what are some of your other ideas for the future?
You know, I probably won't stop doing this. It's just more like, I think a lot of things, like the hype will die down with a lot of things. Like there's trends. Like there was, growing up, there was Furbies, there was Tamagotchis. Like the hype dies down after a
Yeah,
while. But I think I guess, big picture is, if I can take the following that I have and just continue to show love through what I do and spread joy, then my job is done. It's not, that's going to continue. That's just who I am, whether I do those videos or not. And I'm hoping that will just get people to stick with us. And, a lot of people find us relatable as far as parents go, and the special needs autism community. Like they know that we understand them too. And that's becoming a big thing now with Autism Awareness Month and a lot of things that are going on now. But I think it's just bigger picture. I think it goes beyond just the viewership that I get, and it goes beyond just what I'm doing. It's like we really want to just help people and support them and let them know that you're not alone. We're there for you. We're in your corner. Anything we can do to support you, because I like to support people that support me too. So that's just always been who I am.
absolutely. And with all of this that has kind of blown up within the last year to year and a half, you're obviously in many ways busier than you've probably been in quite a while. And knowing that, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to do this. But
Yeah.
what is your secret to balancing everything?
So this is my second year of being a custodian, and I'm an evening custodian.
Hmm.
Uh, it was a very big leap of faith. It was something we leaned on God with, and me and my wife have very separate schedules during the school year. We knew I wouldn't be seeing them as much, but financially, it was a good move. I think a lot of good things have happened because of it, and it's not, like I said, it's not about money, but it's just about balance. And I think there's just a lot less stress, and you know, I take the time during the day now to get some extra rest, get some things done around the house, and the wife is home with the kids during the evenings, and I come home. I work like 2 blocks away from where we live, which is really
Oh,
nice.
that's
But
great.
so I'm not missing. Yeah, Christmas break, in summer I work in the daytime. So summer was like the big times where I would do the videos.
Hmm.
Um, Once in a while, like I'll do like a video on like a Saturday or Sunday when we're home, or like an evening when I'm home on lunch. I'll just have to think of something real quick, like what does a fox say was like on a lunch break.
Yeah.
So um, it's just I take the opportunity when I can, because now it actually works to my advantage, because I can do it when she's not expecting it, because we're she wouldn't expect me to do it while she's cleaning up the kitchen and before I go back to work. So
Right.
it's it's helped my creativity a little bit, um, but it gives me a chance to just kind of, a lot of time for prayer, a lot of time to just relax, meditate, and just take a step back from all of it. I try not to dig in too deep and get head over, go in over my head with social media too. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
but
Because
balancing it, yeah, it's just my kids love it. My
oh, I'm
Elliot is
sure.
very much like he watches the videos. My daughter just watches them on YouTube, and Allison's looking over like, what is she watching that? Just on repeat. So the kids love it, and it's just including them in it too has helped a lot. And I feel like our family has really grown because of it, instead of letting it get too much into our heads.
Yeah. Yep. 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 So, since we are sort of a pop culture centric type of show, I'm
Mhm.
always looking for recommendations. So, by any chance, are you watching or listening to anything really cool right now?
Um, Not, it's like I said, I like the time to watch things is very limited. I know, like, sometimes I'll pop on your show when I can.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate you doing that, by the way.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I guess there's really not a certain person, just out of the blue. I know sometimes I'll scroll when I'm at work and listen to something, but yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, what would you say is your favorite genre of music? What do you like to listen to?
That's a very loaded question because I could go from anywhere to like heavy metal to smooth jazz to pop to 90s alternative. My I think my niche is definitely like the 90s alternative, early 2000s. And I'm really surprised I haven't done more from that. But I was really big into like 311, Sublime, and Linkin
Oh
Park,
yeah.
just all that big stuff growing up. But like, I think the very first album I got myself when I was a kid, saving up, was Pearl Jam 10 album.
Hmm.
That was the very first album I ever owned, on a cassette tape with the Walkman. So those are some days that I remember rewinding. Once I got that tape in, you had to flip it, and then but I feel like that was the era where I think I tap into the most.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, with technology having come to the point that it's at. It's sort of funny. Zach, my son, has never lived in a world without Wi-Fi. And so, I try to tell him about the days of dial-up and everything, and he just looks at me like I just got off the mothership. He was like, "How did you survive?" And I'm like, "Well, we
Yeah.
didn't know anything
Yeah.
else."
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's
Remember those days. Yeah.
and I'm 56, so I remember the old reel to reels. I remember vinyl, 8 tracks,
Yep.
all of that good stuff.
Mhm.
And uh, but yeah. So, what was the first live concert you went to as a fan?
Ooh, first live concert. So, and this was I hadn't really attended a lot, but I remember the first show I ever went to that wasn't like a wasn't like a school concert. I went to Power Man 5000,
Nice.
and my brother, he still has the band. They're called Marcato, out of Iowa, but they opened up for them. That was the first show I actually like got to go and see live of that sort of thing, and it was a lot of fun. My brother, um, very heavy into music too, music teacher out in Des Moines, and but yeah, I got to go to a lot of cool shows like that
Hmm.
to see my brother play. There's just something about watching him play, do his thing, and then getting to meet some of the other bands too was really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
And being there in Iowa, you're in the land of Corey Taylor and Slipknot and all
yep,
that good stuff. But,
yep.
um, have you thought about doing a Slipknot cover?
It's funny because I was looking up yesterday, actually. In fact, I was looking up the lyrics to Duality or Duality.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, because I heard somebody do a cover of it at a wedding
Hmm.
acoustically, and I thought it sounded really cool. And I was like, man, that would be such a cool idea, because my wife probably has never heard it. She knows who they are,
Right.
uh, but it would just be, sometimes I do songs that I know she knows, but sometimes I want to do songs to reach fans of different genres too. Like I've done Sleep Token,
Hmm.
I've done Pearl Jam, I've done like Sia, I've done Lionel Richie. Like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So there's no I don't want to put limits on myself either, you know.
Right, right. I was actually just thinking, Corey Taylor's side band Stone Sour. I was actually
Yeah.
thinking their song "Bother." You could probably do a pretty funny version of that.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many good ideas out there. I mean, um, I just recently started doing Cameo,
Hmm.
and some of the song requests on there, I'm like, wow, I never thought of that. That's a really good song. So now that's kind of like fueling the library in my head a little bit more too.
Right, right. So, what would you say is your favorite thing about Iowa?
It's definitely the people, you know. I know Iowa, at least the town I live in, gets kind of a bad rap. Fort Dodge, it's nicknamed Little Chicago.
Hmm.
People always say Dirty Dodge, and my opinion, I don't think is it's as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, there's things happen everywhere, you know, and I think they're really, when people say Iowa nice, like it really is a thing. People here are just so supportive, very big community um, connectivity here. The school district um, and my mother-in-law's boyfriend got together and put together a memorial bench for my mom who passed away last year and put it on the school property, just on the corner of where the accident happened. And it's just that, to me, like that just shows how much people like care and show love here. And I feel like what I do is a big representation of that, because not only am I proud of my heritage and my upbringing, but also like where I live too.
Right.
And I want to put it in a different light, that it's not a negative one, you know. So but yeah, and it's because of the people that I'm around too. So it's I think that would be the thing about Iowa, and I noticed that around the state too. Everyone is just so nice and very caring and very compassionate.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, on the other half, so to speak, of what I do, a lot of the live streams are oriented toward professional wrestling. And there
Mhm.
is actually I don't know where you are in relation to Davenport, Iowa, but there's actually a well known wrestling school out there that is run by a wrestler by the name of Seth Rollins. Um,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've actually had a number of students and graduates from that school come on the show, and they all love the Davenport area. Like I said, I don't know where that is in relation to you,
Yeah.
but it definitely seems to be a happening little place. So,
Yeah, that part's cool. It's right on the Mississippi River. It's like this very edge, eastern Iowa.
mhm.
It's about a 4-hour drive from where I'm at. Been there a few times, but it's a really great area.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, knowing everything that you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Just be true and authentic to yourself. Don't let comparison be the biggest part of your life, because I think that is a key destroyer in a lot of people, is comparing, because we see on social media what other people have, or we see people that we either go to school with that have this or that, and it's just understanding that you have value yourself. Your value is going to look different than everybody else's, you know. um, and you are the best version of you are the best at being who you are. Nobody else can do that better. And just being proud of who you are. Always keep, in the back of your mind, that there are people who do care about you, and just always ask for help, because there have been some times where I didn't. There were times where I was close to giving up, and I think the younger me to see where I am now would be like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I'm still kind of figuring that out too, is like, I wish I had this or I wish I could do that, but it's just like, we just gotta we can create our own success and just by being ourselves. And that's exactly what has happened here. So
Absolutely. And I heard the saying recently that comparison is the thief of joy, and there is so much wisdom to those words. And I mean, so much of comparison really gets down to the whole apples and oranges thing, anyway. So I
mm,
mean,
yeah,
but
yeah.
So we're getting kind of toward the end of things now. So do you have anything upcoming that you'd like to give some hype to?
Well, so there was I know I had mentioned a phone call yesterday. Uh, I had talked with a couple people from I Am Promotions. They were the people that did the merch sales
Hmm.
here in the past month. They want to get together again to do another sale.
Oh, that's great.
Yep, and I'm working on a couple of my own designs, um, and the proceeds are going to go to a family relative of ours who they lost everything in a fire just before Christmas. So it's going to help them, and so we'll look out for that soon. We're going to have another merch drop. A lot of bigger things to come with that too, because I think they want to collab a lot more with just with me, and they saw a lot of what you saw too, just a person who's just being himself, and a person of faith, and they're people of faith too. They're great people. So keep an eye out on the next merch drop too.
Absolutely. As that gets closer, definitely ping me, and I'll do some reposting and try to do what I can to help spread the word on that, because that's a great cause.
Yeah, yep. And I know I think they're gonna want to do something like on the back of the shirts that say "Can I pray for you?"
Oh, that's beautiful.
So obviously, it's not just about me anymore, but it is going to express more of our faith as well. So it's funny that you bring that up because it's 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 becoming such prayer is becoming such a lost thing now in our society, and it's just a good reminder of sometimes we just got to stop and you know pray. Just stop and pray. If people see that on the back of your shirts, maybe in public, be like, hey, could you keep me in your prayers? Just spreading a little bit of joy and a little bit of comfort wherever we go. So it's beyond what I do. Like I said before, it's about helping people, and I think it's just a good way to spread the word. And
Absolutely, absolutely. And as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, um, actually tomorrow, Sunday the 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 p.m. in the UK, we've got episode 189, and our guest is a guy named Lewis, who is actually the lead vocalist of a UK-based WWE tribute band. Literally, their set list is entirely wrestlers' walkout themes. But
oh,
they're a band called Super Slam, and they're kind of just getting started. But Lewis apparently has played in metal bands for years, and he said this is just uh, sort of a labor of love type of project, and I just thought it sounded like something pretty cool. So got in touch with him, and we're going to be talking with him tomorrow at noon, and then on Friday the 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern, episode 190. And our guest is a pro wrestler. He's also a musician and a content creator, Dallas Dash. I believe he's based in Virginia. But those are the next couple of couple of things we've got coming up, and I'm trying to get this to, there we go. Okay. But those are the next couple of episodes we've got coming up. But we're actually booked pretty much through the first half of February at this point. So, keep an eye on my socials because I announce things roughly about a week out. And, it's just doing these has really been a lot of fun. I've gotten to meet and talk to some of the coolest people, you included. And so before we wrap all of this up, if you can, if she's available, go grab Allison and bring her in here.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Hi, this is Matt.
Hi.
Allison.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for sharing Jason with us this afternoon. I mean, you guys bring so much light and so much happiness to people, and I have been so excited to have him on the show, and it's just been a real pleasure. And I just want to thank you for riding herd on the kids and everything. And anyway, thank you, and thank you for your part in what you guys are doing, and playing the straight man. And I mean, anyway, I just wanted to have you on for a second. So
yeah, thank you. We this has been exciting to be part of all of this. So
absolutely. And my wife actually just commented in the Instagram chat. She said, "Great conversation today, and such a lovely couple." So
Thank you.
oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
so, anyway, so at this point, we're basically going to wrap stuff up, and so until tomorrow at noon, with UK-based tribute band Super Slam, be good to each other, love each other, and let's keep throwing down.